You're watching the Winds of New England, WNDS TV 50, Erie, New Hampshire. WNDS Sports and the Massachusetts Bowling Association present Candlepin Skins. It's Candlepin bowling like you've never seen it before, and now with increased prize money. Your hosts for Candlepin Skins, Doug Brown and Dan Murphy.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome once again for another edition of Candlepin Skins. We're coming to you from Pilgrim Lanes in Haverhill, Massachusetts, our new home this year for the program in conjunction with the Massachusetts Bowling Association. I'm Doug Brown along with Dan Murphy. So glad you've joined us, and we're happy to have you along as we move into another week of Candlepin Skins. And really the story of the last 3 weeks has been Tom Morgan.
Really, the story is 2 weeks ago when he threw the triple strike. That's the story, because otherwise he wouldn't be here. But boy, once he did that, he's been on fire ever since.
All right, let's meet the four bowlers who will be participating this afternoon. First of all, our returning bowlers in his second week from Peabody, Massachusetts, Bob Bettencourt, and back for his fourth week in a row from Revere, Massachusetts, Tom Morgan.
Okay, Tom averaging 128, and Bob Bettencourt at 125.
Tom threw a gigantic opening game last week, a 163. He kind of cooled off a little bit in the second game, but he had piled up such a big lead that he was able to carry that over and turn it into a first-place win for the second week in a row. So Bob and Tom will be joined by two other bowlers who are coming in to join us today here at Pilgrim Lanes. From Lynn, Massachusetts, Shawn Baker, and from Weymouth, Massachusetts, Bob Whitcomb.
Okay, and Shawn comes in averaging 125, as does Bob Whitcomb, also at 125.
All right, again, increased prize money this year on Candlepin Skins. If you haven't had the opportunity to join us yet here during the month of October, we'll briefly review the rules for you so that you can be up to date on exactly how it works here on Candlepin Skins. Perhaps you're joining us for the first time. It's bowling a little bit different than you're accustomed to. Total pinfall does count. We bowl 2 games here. Our 4 bowlers are competing individually, and they will bowl 2 games total pinfall. But in addition to that, there is also a dollar value assigned to each box. That's what's referred to as the skin. The high box in each box, the high score in each box, wins the skin or the dollar value. If there is a tie for the high box, then the dollar value rolls over to the next box. So, of course, it doesn't take long for those dollar values to mount up. Now, the first 3 boxes of each game are worth $20. The next 3 boxes of each game are worth $25. The following 3 are worth $30, and the big 10th box in each game worth $75. That's the setup here on Candlepin Skins. We hope you'll stick around for the next hour. It promises to be a lot of fun as Tom Morgan goes for his 4th try in a row, and we'll be back with more on Candlepin Skins from Haverhill right after these words. Stay with us.
Candlepin Skins is brought to you in part by the Car Phone Store of Nashua.
Welcome back, and we are ready to go. Shawn Baker on the left, Bob Whitcomb on the right. They'll be starting us off here in Game 1. Shawn Baker making his first appearance here on the Winds of New England.
Leaves himself the 6-7-10 split. Bob Whitcomb.
He's got a split too.
3-6-10 with a 4. Shoot right at the 7 pin here. Might be the... No. Went the opposite side, the right-hand side of the wood.
We know that there are probably a lot of you out there who are getting your first look at Candlepin bowling here on the Winds of New England over the last couple of weeks. We have added a lot of cable systems, particularly in Massachusetts, over the summer. So perhaps there are a lot of you joining us for the first or second time. Welcome. And if you're still not quite sure about the way Candlepin Skins works, we'll coach you through it. Bob Bettencourt almost with a strike to start. Tom Morgan will have the 4 horsemen plus the 9. Bob for the spare, and he's got it. That may be good enough for the, or will be good enough for the skin unless Tom can convert this. No. So give the first skin of the day, worth $20, to Bob Bettencourt. a strike for Shawn Baker. Bob Whitcomb misfires on his spare chance. Nine for Bob, his second open frame. Shawn Baker leading for the skin here in the second, and here is his strike. Not bad for the second box on television. Oh, almost. Tom Morgan bidding for the carryover. Bob Bettencourt will take a try, and he just misses. 2-9 drops. So give the second skin of the day to Shawn Baker. Tom Morgan gets his single for the spare. And Bob misses, and he turned away. He knew immediately. $10 for Bob Bettencourt. So give that second skin to Shawn Baker. Our computer is now up to date. There was a situation where two of the bowlers were out of order, but now they're in the correct order. And we have another $20 skin here in box number 3.
Half Whistler left for Bob Whitcomb. Chops out just the 2 and the 8 pins. Shawn filling his strike and with a 9. Good bid for the spare though.
Shawn takes 10. And Bob Whitcomb takes 10. Nice shot. Candlepin Skins is brought to you in part by Tri-State Megabucks. Just imagine. Tri-State Megabucks. Bob Bettencourt. And now Tom Morgan on a spare. And he carries 8. $10 leading for the skin right now and looking pretty good. Now looking even better. And we're going to have a carryover with 10s. Looking very good because there was no way anybody could beat it after they missed their marks.
Oh, that was a strike. When it left his hand, I said, that's a good-looking ball. It's nice and tight in the 1-2 pocket. Is it going to stand up? Almost only stood up one ball.
That was the first mark of the day for Bob Whitcomb. Shawn Baker almost matched it. This is a $45 skin here in the 4th. Ooh, and Shawn slips by on the single. $10 for Shawn.
Take a look at Bob's strike. 1-2 pocket just strips the 6-pin it looked going on last, 6 and 7 pins, but there was never a doubt.
So Dan, I know I don't quite know the rules yet, but I'm catching on. I think pretty soon I'll have it. Strike leading for the skin here. Bob Bettencourt with the last chance to match it, and he does not. So a $45 skin for Bob Whitcomb, his first of the day.
Well, you were right. The 10 looked good up there, and they look better with a carryover because there was 2 of them up there.
Spare for Bob Bettencourt. Tom Morgan settles for the 10. Very, very close here in the early going.
Shawn Baker now, lane number 4.
Boy, he was just a little heavy on the head pin, not by much.
A situation where you might want to play the 6 and 10 pins.
Oh,
there's
look out!
A double strike.
Bob Whitcomb was open in his first 3 boxes, and now he's thrown a double strike. Boy, that was a nice effort by Shawn Baker, but not quite enough. A $25 skin here in the 5th, and it will go to Bob Whitcomb unless either Bob Bettencourt or Tom Morgan throw a strike. Another 10 for Shawn Baker. Here's Bob's second strike in a row.
This time in the 1-3 pocket and a little light, but just enough to trip that 4-pin. Bob Bettencourt now working on a spare. Half a dozen. Tom Morgan, last bid to try to carry this over with a strike. Look at that pin spin around and it never went down.
I think that label turned all the way around from the back, didn't it?
Give the skin to Bob Whitcomb again.
And Tom Morgan with a fine spare. And it will be a 10 box, a rather adventurous 10 for Bob Bettencourt, and he's got a big smile on his face as he turns around. Well, the story right now, Bob Whitcomb's double strike. He's won 2 skins in a row. We're back with more from Pilgrim Lanes after these words.
Candlepin Skins is brought to you in part by Tri-State Megabucks. And now with Mega Cash. Choose your dream.
Bob Whitcomb working on a double strike. That's not the ball he wanted.
No, he skipped that one a little bit, dropped that one prematurely. Shawn Baker through the middle. 2-4, 3-6.
Well, Bob didn't really get the full effect, the full benefit of the double strike, but he does come up with a nice 10 box there. And an 8 for Shawn Baker. But Bob did put 50 pins up in 3 boxes.
Takes over the pinfall lead, at least temporarily, depending on Bob Bettencourt. And Tommy Morgan can do it. Tommy working on a spare. Make it a strike and the skin, unless Bob could throw a strike.
Nope. So that's a $25 skin for Tom Morgan. He was the last of the 4 bowlers to win a skin today. No. Bob can't convert the spare. And the 10.
Let's take a look at the strike by Tom Morgan. 2-pin, 1-2 pocket, the 10-pin. Last one to go down as a pin come twisting around the back of it.
Shawn Baker has 1 mark so far. That strike back in the second.
And
Right
again,
through the heart that time.
Shawn's on that head pin, but just a little full.
Oh, Bob
tell
Whitcomb.
ya.
That's 3 out of 4 for Bob.
There's no doubt about them when they go either.
Shawn has possibilities here, Dan.
Yeah, he's going to have a trouble time with the 10-pin. I know that.
Wow,
And
not to mention the 4 and 7.
Yeah, well, he came too high in the wood. You saw him turn his head away. He knew he had either the red line or a little bit to the right of the red line.
Make it an 8 for Shawn, his second 8 in a row. The strike for Bob Whitcomb.
Watch it, because it doesn't last very long. In a hurry, they go down.
I'm sure Bob would really like to have that first ball in the previous box over again.
Oh, he's in line for the skin unless Tom Morgan can throw a strike to carry it over.
Nope. So give another skin, this one a $30 skin to Bob Whitcomb. He's up to $100 already. Spare for Bob Bettencourt. And Tom Morgan cannot.
8 fill on his strike, though.
And Tom takes 9. That brings us to the 8th box, which will be worth $30. Bob Whitcomb figures to be in the lead after he fills this strike.
Can he throw another double? Not this time.
Off the head pin on that ball.
Shawn Baker, see if he can get off the head pin a little bit.
Yes,
That's
he
a little
did.
better. Leaves just the 5 pin this time. Made the adjustment. I mean, I thought he was going maybe a little too light in the head pin, but he's got a piece of wood in front of the 5, but it's way out in front of the 5.
give Bob Whitcomb an 8 fill on his strike. Shawn Baker converts for the spare, his second mark. It's an important spare for Shawn. He didn't want things to get too far out of hand before he marked again. Bob Whitcomb takes a 9. Candlepin Stars and Strikes, brought to you in part by Rockingham Toyota Dodge Nissan of Salem, New Hampshire. Come to Salem and save. Rockingham Toyota Dodge Nissan. Oh my.
Boy.
The
Tom.
1 and the 5 punch out for Tom.
Say that ball was a little full on the head pin.
And a punch out for Bob too, and that was on a spare, just 3. Ooh, my. Well, Shawn Baker
What is going on?
Shawn Baker has won himself another skin, a $30 one. Oh, great ball by Tom Morgan to get a 9. Bob Bettencourt has to settle for 5. So another $30 skin here in the 9th. As things remain very close, you can see Shawn Baker in 4th place, but he's working on a mark. So he could climb up into 3rd here in a hurry. And he does. Well, he tied for 3rd.
He's got another legitimate spare leave now in the triangle in the right-hand corner, the 6, 9, and 10. Half Worcester for Bob Whitcomb. Piece of wood in front of those 3 also.
Yes. 2 in a row for Shawn Baker. That's a pretty good 9 by Bob Whitcomb after how he started. Don't forget, tomorrow at noon from Park Place Lanes in Windham, New Hampshire, WNDS presents Candlepin Stars and Strikes. It will be a championship match, series championship match. Tomorrow we will know the first qualifier to the 1997 Tournament of Champions tomorrow afternoon. Hope you'll join us for that. That's tomorrow at noon here on the Winds.
Good try by Bob Bettencourt on that spare.
And a good try by Tom too, but not enough to keep Shawn Baker from winning another skin. Another $30 skin for him. Good 10 box for Bob Bettencourt. 9 for Tom Morgan. Look at these scores. They throw a blanket over all 4 of them. We've had only 1 box carry over, and that was the 3rd box when nobody marked. Bob Whitcomb in the 10th.
Half Worcester.
Now Shawn Baker working on a spare. He'll take 6. Shawn for another mark. No.
Nothing touched the 10 pin. Had pins flying all over the place, but 10 pin stands.
Nine box for Bob Whitcomb. Gonna have to have a check on that piece of wood in front of the 10 for Shawn Baker. It is in play. And Shawn converts for a 10 and a 118. This is a $75 skin here in the 10th. And right now, that 10 for Shawn Baker leads. Possibilities there for Tom Morgan with all the wood around.
He's going to give it a ride, that's for sure. Bob Bettencourt, 4 horsemen to the right. 1, 3, 6, 10.
Tom went up to the foul line to take a look at all the wood. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces of wood. He knocked down 8 pins, and 5 of them are still down there. And after studying it, converts it for the spare in the 10th. And that is good for a $75 skin for Tom Morgan. $9 for Bob Bettencourt. He finishes at 111 for game one. He'll be in fourth. Here's Tom's spare.
Just where the two pieces of wood meet. It's enough to convert that. Gives him 122 plus the bonus ball.
Tom keeps it on the lane. He should have the lead at the end of game one. That's enough to do it. 6 fill, 128. Tom Morgan has the lead after one game here on Candlepin Skins. Bob Whitcomb is second at 123, followed closely by Shawn Baker at 118, Bob Bettencourt at 111. We're back for game two from Pilgrim Lanes in Haverhill after these messages. Here is the financial damage from game one here on Candlepin Skins. Bob Whitcomb and Tom Morgan each on the board with $100 in skins money. Shawn Baker and Bob Bettencourt have also tallied. But looking for more in game two, and certainly the pinfall situation, Dan, is wide open. We've got 128 in first place and 111 in fourth place, so only 17 pins separating. Plenty of room for all four bowlers here. Shawn Baker opens with a tough split. Bob Whitcomb has a half Worcester right.
A tougher split. This wood could kick forward on the 6-pin for Shawn. Didn't
almost
get enough of the 2 to catch the 4, though.
Shawn gets his 10 bucks. $20 skin here in the first. Oh, Bob was using the body English to try and steal a couple of more pins, but he'll take a 7. Bob Bettencourt, and he has a split, the 4-6-10.
A couple pieces of wood, though, he's going to try to negotiate with.
Tom Morgan, big first ball, touches everything but the 6.
He had a chance of throwing that strike. Remember, a 10 box is up there for the skin. This could win it for Tommy Morgan.
And he's got it. The spare wins the skin. Bob Bettencourt takes 7. So $20 more for Tom Morgan, and he continues to add to his prize money over this 4-week period. This is his 4th week in a row on the program, and he has done very, very well. And to think all of this after that triple strike the first week he was here, or else none of the rest of this would have happened. Bob Whitcomb for the spare. And he's got, I thought he had it. That ball just seemed to fade to the left. It seemed that Bob had it on line for the 5-pin, but it did not hang on.
Well,
had me fooled.
Bob ball does break from right to left. He usually controls it with a little more speed. That time he slowed the ball down. Of course, it broke a little sharper at the end.
And it's still there, a 9 box. Shawn also takes 9. Tom Morgan about to work on a spare here, and he's going to have to re-rack as a couple of pins fell over prematurely. And Tom will re-rack it again. Gives us a chance to remind you about Candlepin Stars and Strikes tomorrow at 12 noon here on the Winds of New England from Park Place Lanes in Windham, New Hampshire. It will be Series Championship Day tomorrow. We will learn the identity of our first qualifier for the Tri-State Megabucks Tournament of Champions. So the singles action comes your way tomorrow at noon here on the Winds. And after the wait, Tom Morgan has a spare leave, and he drops 8 on his spare fill. Ooh, tough punch out for Bob Bettencourt. Just the 1 and the 9.
And Tommy's looking at the 4 and the 8. Clear shot at those 2 pins and makes it 2 in a row.
Could make it 2 skins in a row unless Bob pulls off a spectacular one here. He does not. So another skin for Tom Morgan. He's up to $140 now. And another 7 for Bob Bettencourt. That's his 2nd in a row. Bob had a 7-box last week and a 6-box as well, but he was still able to come back and grab 2nd place. Obviously, this is a long way from being over, too. We're going to take a timeout right here. Oh, no, I guess we don't have to. Thought we had a mechanical problem on lane 4, but it seems to be corrected. And Shawn Baker is ready to go. 4 horsemen right. Bob Whitcomb. Big strike.
That patented strike crossing over on the Brooklyn side for Bob Whitcomb, and he just annihilates those pins. They just jump off that ball.
Very interesting, Dan. Bob Whitcomb has not thrown a spare today. He has 4 strikes, but no spares. And that's a 7-box for Shawn Baker. So here's Bob's strike. Brooklyn side again.
Oh, hum, just another one. Every time he's thrown a strike, too, he's won the skin. See if Bob Bettencourt can put an end to that and throw one of his own.
And Bob is going to have to go for a re-rack here. Bob from Peabody, Massachusetts. Tom Morgan. Oh, trying to match that strike. Can't quite do it.
Wants that 7-pin to go down. Give the skin to Bob Whitcomb again.
$20 worth on the strike. Another 7 for Bob Bettencourt. Would you believe it? 3 straight 7s to start this 2nd game, and a 10 for Tom Morgan.
That's what Bob Bettencourt did last week, too. He opened up decent, then he struggled until late in that 2nd game, and he put a flurry on to come up for 2nd place. Looks like he's going to have to do that again.
Bob Whitcomb, not his best ball, but he's got a spare leave. And it's getting better. The 4-pin just went down. Oh, big kick out there on the 10 for Shawn Baker.
Yeah, it looked like he was going to be left with a 4 and 10. Kicks the 10 out of there.
Bob trying for spare on strike. Nope, and he still doesn't have a spare.
May not throw a spare today.
Well, he's in 2nd place right now, but Shawn Baker is breathing down his neck, and Shawn puts the spare up to put more pressure on. 9-box for Bob. Tom Morgan is in 1st place and beginning to open up a little breathing room, but he'll need a mark to open up a lead better than 13 or 14 pins probably here. Uh-oh. Half Worcester left for Tom. Shawn Baker's spare looking pretty good for the $25 skin here. And no, it is not. Bob Bettencourt comes up with a big shot when he needed it. After throwing 3 consecutive 7-boxes, Bob Bettencourt comes up with a big spare, not only to carry over the skin, but to try and get himself back in the match.
There it is, and it looked like he had gone around the 7-pin, but from behind, piece of wood comes off the sidewall on the left and knocks that 7-pin down for the spare, which causes one of the few carryovers we've had.
$50 now here in the 5th.
Just 2 on Shawn's spare.
Oh,
yeah,
big
here we
strike.
go. He's back.
Mr. Strike. Five marks on the day for Bob Whitcomb, all of them strikes.
Well, he's come to play the right game if he's going to throw a lot of strikes.
That's right. Every time he's thrown a strike, he's won a skin. We'll see if he wins this one.
Again, crossing over nice and tight in the 1-2 pocket. Carbon copy of a lot of his strikes.
Bob Bettencourt on a spare fill now. And he was full on the head pin.
Well, one more chance for Tom to take it away from him or carry it over.
Look out. Nope, that's a $50 skin for Bob Whitcomb. A spare for Tom Morgan in the 5th. And a 10 box for Bob Bettencourt. And we will take a break here on Candlepin Skins. Tom Morgan in the lead by 16 pins over Bob Whitcomb, but they both have marks up in the 5th. We'll be back in a minute. Bob Whitcomb is working on a strike. This
What
is
else
not
is
a
new?
this is
Yeah.
not a recording.
He's already had one double. How about two? How about two?
Oh, everything but.
That close to a double strike for Bob Whitcomb. Everything but the 5 pin. Shawn dropping 6. 3, 5, 6, and 10 left. Shawn. Hey, you got a spare.
And a sarcastic cheer from the crowd here for Bob's first spare of the day.
Shawn, meanwhile, sliding by the object pin, that 3 pin. That's the ball he wanted.
Candlepin Skins is brought to you in part by the Carphone Store of Nashua, New Hampshire. And a strike for Tom Morgan. Strike on spare. And that's good enough to win the skin for $25.
That's strike on spare as well, so that increases his total pinfall lead.
It was an important mark for Tom, too, because with Bob Whitcomb in second place already marking, Tom needed to put one up there to maintain his lead, and here's what he put up there, the big strike.
Took a while. Looked like the 7 pin was going to stay, but finally gets it to roll down.
A $30 7th box now. Shawn Baker in need of some marks.
Yeah, certainly does. He's 174 in 3rd place. Bob Whitcomb drops 8 on his spare.
Shawn for the spare, no. Bob Whitcomb running second right now in total pinfall, and he cannot convert. That's the ball Shawn wanted last time. He'll take a 10 box. And a 10 for Bob Whitcomb, so 2 10s up there. And Bob Bettencourt could improve his situation a lot here with a big mark.
It's right about this point last week he started to put the marks back together again. Now it's going to be a tough one. The 2-4-7 with the 6 pin and no playable wood left on the deck.
Tom Morgan on a strike.
Oh, he kicks out the 4 and 7. Good break there for Tom.
A spare would win the skin if Tom converts it. No. So we're going to have a carryover. We have not had many today. 10 for Bob Bettencourt. And it's 10s all around here in the 7th.
It's a 17 pin advantage from Tom over Bob Whitcomb. And then Shawn at 184 and Bob Bettencourt at 177. So again, Tom's in the driver's seat. It's going to be a fight for that 2nd spot.
$60 skin here in the 8th.
Shawn Baker, lane 3, half booster left.
Not what he needed. He was already 31 pins out of 2nd place. Oh, nice spare for Bob Whitcomb. That's going to improve his 2nd place position.
Good bid by Shawn to convert that half Worcester, but to no avail, and he's really in need of marks. He's at 193. He's got to figure he's got to catch either Bob or Tom, which is some 32 and about 39 pins ahead of them.
Big
Tom
first
is now
ball.
running away here.
Wow.
If he can convert this. Bob Bettencourt still looking for the elusive spares and strikes the second game. There's one back in the fourth.
Spare in the eighth, and that creates the carryover. The ninth box will be worth $90. An 8 box for Bob Bettencourt, and Bob Bettencourt and Shawn Baker are in a whole lot of trouble now. They've got to throw a lot of strikes in these final 2 boxes. Looks like Tom Morgan is going to be back for his 5th week in a row next week, Dan.
Certainly looks that way now.
Bob Whitcomb now on a spare. Spread eagle.
Keep Shawn's hopes alive. He's got to convert this. Staying alive with a spare and a 9th.
Bob will try and work this out for 10 if he can.
Beauty of this, you could be way behind in your total pinfall race, but you still have some skin money to pick up along the way. 34 pins behind Bob Whitcomb is Shawn.
Remember, this is a $90 skin right here. Bob Bettencourt, big first ball, and he leaves a 10 pin. Tom is on a spare. And he's got a spare leave too. Good chance for another carryover here, and there it is. So we're going to have another huge carryover to end the day. $165 this last skin of the day. The pinfall situation is pretty much settled. Tom Morgan will be first, barring a minor miracle, and Bob Whitcomb will be second, again barring a miraculous finish. Bob throwing a big 9 drop. Oh, Shawn Baker, he wanted that strike. He wanted that last skin of the day.
This is a big 9 fill on the spare, though.
And Bob misfires on the single. Spare for Shawn Baker in the 10th. Bob Whitcomb takes 10, 124 for Bob, and a 2-game total of 247. That will be good enough to bring him back for next week.
Just a matter of settling this last skin now. Shawn Baker's leading with a spare. Oh, boy.
Oh, he threw the strike on the spare. That does not count for the skin. Only the spare in the original box counts for the skin. But the strike does improve Shawn's score to 114 and a 2-game total of 232, and there it was.
You see a nice mixing action there at Shawn's final ball. So we need one of these bowlers to get a spare to carry over, or one of them to throw a strike to win the last skin outright.
That's a good ball right there, and it is a strike for Tom Morgan. And it is a $165 strike for Mr. Morgan. Tom just doubled his winnings for the day. He was at 165 prior to that skin. Tom Morgan with the strike. So Tom will now finish his game, but everything has been settled now. Oh, look out. Tom's going to give us just a little reprise of what happened 3 weeks ago.
Let's take a look at that last one. There's the double. But Tom Morgan, he's going to have a monster of a 3rd game and a great 2-game total again this week.
Can he do it again? Not this time. 6. But a 167 second game, bettering last week when he had a 163 opening game. 295 for Tom Morgan for 2 games. He'll be back next week. So will Bob Whitcomb. And we'll be back to talk to the bowlers and wrap it up here on Candlepin Skins after these words. And welcome back to Pilgrim Lanes in Haverhill, Massachusetts. Candlepin Skins wrapping up for another week. Doug Brown with Dan Murphy, and the story continues to be Tom Morgan.
That certainly is. If there's a skin to be won or a mark to be made, he seemed to come up with it, and he's just tough in the clutch.
All right, let's look at the damage here on this one. First of all, the total pinfall for the third week in a row. Tom Morgan comes out on top. Again, he had another big game this week, a 167 second game for a two-game total, 295. Bob Whitcomb, specializing in strikes in the early going, then added a couple of spares late and wound up second at 247. Third place goes to Shawn Baker. Not a bad appearance for the youngster, his first ever television appearance at 232. Bob Bettencourt, after requalifying last week, couldn't get it done this week. He finishes at 206. Now, the skins damage for today, that big $165 skin at the end doubled Tom Morgan's output of the day. Bob Whitcomb also up there with $170. Shawn and Bob Bettencourt had some numbers up there too, but primarily it was a day for Tom Morgan and Bob Whitcomb, and we're going to talk to both of them now. Bob, why don't you come on up here first? Bob Whitcomb, $170 for skins money, and boy, I'm sure, I know you must have been thinking about the strikes because you get a real sarcastic bit of applause when you got that first spare.
Yeah, I don't know, the strikes just happened. It was one of those things. I think the only time I hit the head pin is when I threw a strike. I was off the head pin, but I was fortunate enough to get the strikes.
Actually, it was very good that two of those strikes came together for you.
Yes, I was a little off the first string. I was a little tight, and I think the double strike helped me the first string bail out a little bit and kept me in the match, and I settled down a little bit the second string and bowled better.
Well, you can relax now because you know you're going to be back next week. We'll see you then.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, Bob Whitcomb, congratulations. Finishes second. And now Tom Morgan. Tom Morgan has had a very productive 4 weeks for himself, and the fans still here at Pilgrim Lanes, deservedly the big round of applause. I guess having to come back and win or finish second with that triple strike 3 weeks ago made you realize, boy, you know, this would be easier if I finish first. So you've done that 3 weeks in a row.
I'm glad you guys think like that. That's good, though. All I do is throw the ball and hope you get lucky, you know what I mean? That's what I did. The last skin, I mean, two guys before me, Bob and Shawn, threw monster balls. Fisher's 9 drops. Right there, put a little life, a little mix it, boom, kicks it right out. That's it. It's a little bit of luck. That's all it is.
$1,065 for the last 4 weeks.
Oh, great. Things are going really good right now. Throwing the ball well, and things have been happening good for me.
We'll see you next week. See if you can keep it going.
Absolutely. Thanks
all right, Tom. Thanks very much. Appreciate it. Tom Morgan, once again, he'll be back next week. His 5th week in a row. Of course, Bob Whitcomb will be back as well. And as of right now, we don't know the other two bowlers who will be with us. But this is how it works here on Candlepin Skins. We're having a lot of fun.
That's right. Tom, could I borrow 10?
Just 10?
The first start. Yeah, he just bowls super, and whoever comes in next week will have the hands full with these two guys.
All right, don't forget, a big weekend of Candlepin bowling here on the Winds of New England continues tomorrow at noon. We will have our first series championship match on Candlepin Stars and Strikes. Tomorrow we'll determine our first participant in the 1997 Tri-State Megabucks Tournament of Champions, so you won't want to miss that. That's tomorrow at noon from Park Place Lanes, right here on the Winds of New England. And don't forget, next Saturday we'll be back here for another edition of Candlepin Skins. Until then, for Dan Murphy and the whole rest of the Winds of New England crew, I'm Doug Brown. Have a good weekend, everybody. Thanks for being with us.